Can a court actually order a child to spend time with someone she is terrified of? Yes. And I need to tell you about a 14-year-old girl who found that out the hard way. Her name was Mikaela Haynes. She was an honor student. She learned sign language just so she could talk to her 2 elderly deaf neighbors. That is who she was. She told her doctors what was happening. She told her therapist. She told the court. Every adult in the system heard her and kept the court order in place anyway. Now here is the part that I think people need to sit with before we go any further, because this is not a story about one bad person. It is a story about a system which is failing us. The night before Mikaela died, one specific conversation happened. What was said in that conversation and who said it, that is what this whole video is about. And I promise you, if you stay until the end, what you hear is going to change the way you look at family courts. Completely. Mikaela grew up in Ripley County, small town, deep rural Missouri. Her mom, Cynthia, had 3 kids. One of them was Melissa, her daughter from before she married a man named Charles Haynes. The whole thing started with a note. Melissa slipped her mom a handwritten note. In it, she described what Charles Haynes had been doing to her for years. Cynthia did what any mother would do. She left. She called the police. She filed for divorce. Charles Haynes was arrested, charged, and he pled guilty. So at this point, the system worked. The truth came out. The right thing happened. And then the divorce court got involved. Okay, hear me out now. When there are children caught in a divorce with abuse in the background, the court brings in someone called a Guardian Ad Litem, a GAL. Their one and only job, written into the law, is to protect the children. Not the father, not the mother, the children. The GAL assigned to Mikaela and her younger sister Sarah was an attorney named Jennifer Williams. And this is where the story stops making any sense. Jennifer Williams was Mikaela's court-appointed protector for 2.5 years. During that time, Mikaela was telling everyone around her she was scared, that her father was coming into her room at night at her grandmother's house. She started hurting herself. She had to be hospitalized. The hospital staff saw enough that they refused to send her back to the grandmother's house. Jennifer Williams' answer was to move Mikaela and Sarah out of their mother's home and into foster care. Their mom, Cynthia, had never hurt her kids. The only claim against her was educational neglect, that she wasn't supervising schoolwork properly. Cynthia had test results, official scores, proving her daughters were performing ahead of their grade level. She brought those results to Williams. Williams told her, and this comes directly from the federal lawsuit, that if Cynthia tried to submit those results to the court herself, she would lose her visitation time. Her time with her own daughters. Gone. As a punishment for proving they were doing fine. I genuinely do not have the words for how devastating that is. And it keeps going. There was a recording, sitting inside Charles Haynes' own criminal case file, a recording of him threatening to kill Melissa and Cynthia for reporting the abuse.
Accusing you of what?
Everything. Every time something happens, it's my fault. Every time somebody does something wrong, it's my fault. Gosh.
Cynthia told Williams about it. Williams never listened to it. And then, 2015, Charles Haynes' own lawyer found child pornography on the grandmother's computer, the computer Charles used exclusively. His own lawyer turned it over to prosecutors. Cynthia told Williams. Williams told the divorce court nothing. Guys, before we go any further, I need to stop for 1 second. Because if any part of this is feeling familiar to you, if something about your own situation is clicking right now while you are watching this, please subscribe and share this with someone who needs it. That is the only reason I make these. Okay, back to it. Here is the part that reframes this entire case. According to the wrongful death lawsuit and the attorney on record, Evita Tolu, Jennifer Williams was not being paid by the court system the way you would expect. Charles Haynes and his mother were paying her for 5 years. The woman legally required to be Mikaela's voice in that courtroom was being paid by the man Mikaela was afraid of. That is not an allegation I am making. That is what the attorney of record stated, directly, and nobody disputed it. I mean, after this point, I do not know what is real anymore. I want to be honest about something. When I first started going through this case, I thought the villain was Charles Haynes, the convicted man, the one in prison. He is not the story. The story is what the people around him did, what the professionals who had the legal power to stop this and didn't. Mikaela spent 2 years trying to make adults hear her. 2 years documented on record with hospitalizations and filing after filing. And every single time, the system moved her closer to the thing she was running from. On November 23, 2018, Jennifer Williams sat Mikaela down and told her she would be testifying at Charles Haynes' sentencing hearing on his behalf, arguing that he should receive probation instead of prison. Then she explained what probation meant. If he did not go to prison, he would get full custody of Mikaela and Sarah. Mikaela was 14 years old. She had been trying to get someone to listen for 2 years, and in that moment, she understood no one was going to. The next morning, November 24, 2018, Mikaela took her own life. Her note said she could not take it anymore. Her attorney later said Mikaela believed that if she was gone, if she made enough noise by not being here, her sister Sarah might finally be protected. She was trying to save her little sister. After Mikaela died, Jennifer Williams still went to that sentencing hearing, still testified for Charles Haynes, and still argued for probation. And in that testimony, she described the children she was appointed to protect, as highly sexualized for their age. Haynes did not receive probation. He began a 7-year sentence on December 12, 2018, 18 days after Mikaela died. Nothing in this video is legal advice. Everything you just heard comes from public record, court documents, and documented case patterns. If you are in a family court situation right now, work with a licensed family law attorney in your state. But after spending weeks inside Mikaela's file, here is what I want you to know. Document everything, every conversation with a court professional. Write it down with the date and time. Request things in writing where you can. Ask questions. You are allowed to ask questions. I started this video with a question: can a court order a child to spend time with someone she is terrified of? The answer is yes. Mikaela Haynes spent 2 years learning that the hard way. This is not a flaw in one case. The records, the studies, and the legal protections that shielded the people who failed her point to something structural, not an accident. If someone you know is going through something they cannot explain right now, send them this video. Not for the views, but because the hardest part is thinking you are the only one it is happening to. You are not. And if your story belongs on this channel, the link is in the description. Everything stays private unless you say otherwise. There is another case you need to see. A mother in New York. A custody battle that lasted for years. A woman who documented everything, posted everything, and fought the system all the way to her last breath. And the system still won. What does a mother do when she does everything right, and it still is not enough? That answer is on your screen right now.